Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world, and today we'll do two things. We're going to find the length of a line segment and the midpoint of a line segment. But firstly, you need to know what actually is a line segment. I'm sure you all have a common sense idea of what a line is, but mathematicians are very precise with their definitions. So, as I told you in a previous video, when you graph lines, you put arrows on the ends of the line to show that it goes on forever. Now, to mathematicians, a line is basically what you think a line is, but it goes forever in both directions, okay? So it doesn't go forever in both directions, it's not a line. So that's the important thing to note, because line segment is a slightly different definition. So this one I've just put on is a line segment. Okay, so just to be clear, line segment here. All right. The difference is that this line segment has a well-defined end and start point. What that means is that it doesn't go forever in either direction. It's only of finite length. That's really important because you can't find the midpoint or the length of a line that goes on forever. That'd just be ridiculous, okay? So, let's get to actually finding the length and midpoint. So here is just the line segment that I had before. So it's a line segment because it has a start and an end point, okay? Now those points are very important. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to find the midpoint. Okay, now midpoint, as the name suggests, is actually a point. So it's a point somewhere along this line segment that lies on the line segment. It's halfway. Okay, so how do we figure that out? So middle. So maybe, hopefully, you're thinking about averages here. So all you have to do to find the midpoint is take the average of the x values and the average of the y values. Just remember, a point is something like this, 0, 0. So it's got an x-coordinate, which is written first, and a y-coordinate, which is written second. Okay? So, how do we actually do it? So we need to know the start point and the end point. So the 2 points we have for this line segment are 0, 0, and 3, 4. Okay? So the midpoint, as I said, is going to be a point, so it's going to have 2 coordinates, so it's going to be average of x values and average of y values. So to find the average of two numbers really easy, you just add them up and divide by 2. So the midpoint here, so first thing I'm going to do is add the 2 x coordinates. So this one's an x coordinate, x is always written first, so the 2 x coordinates are 0 and 3. So I add them up, 0 plus 3, and I divide by 2. That is the x-coordinate. And I do the same for the y-coordinates. So the y-coordinates, we have 0 and 4, so I add them up and divide by 2. Okay, how easy is that? Now I just actually go and do those sums. So for the x-coordinates, 0 plus 3 is 3, divided by 2 is 1.5 or 1.5. Either way you write it, doesn't matter. So 1.5, I'll just make that look more like a point. So that's the x-coordinate, and the y-coordinate is a 0.0 plus 4, which is 4, divided by 2, which is 2. How easy is that? Okay, so that is the answer. 1.52 is the midpoint of this line. Okay, and 1.52 is close to my original guess. So x is 1.5 is about there, y is 2 is there. So the point is just about where I guessed, halfway in the middle of the line. Easy as. All right, let's go and find the length of this line segment. Okay, now to find the length, we use Pythagoras because we can figure out how far we've gone across and how far we've gone up. So let's think of it as starting at this point and ending at this point. So to get from this point here up to this point here, what we do is we go across the x-axis. We've gone across 3 units, and then we've gone up the y-axis. We've gone up 4 units. So if you like, this distance is 3 and this distance is 4. Okay? So that's often what mathematicians do. If we want to find an unknown length, we draw a triangle, okay? So we're going to use Pythagoras to find out what the length of the line segment is here, and I'm going to call it x, okay? It doesn't matter what you call it. So hopefully you remember what Pythagoras' theorem is. So it is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, a and b are the shorter two sides. Okay, so in this case, the shorter two sides are 3 and 4. It doesn't matter which is a and which is b. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, I've called it x. Okay, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. So x squared is 9 plus 16, which is 25. Okay, and the last step you have to do, which sometimes brings people undone, is you have to take the square root. So if x squared is 25, x will be square root of 25, because square root undoes squaring. So square root of 25 is, of course, 5. And so we have 5 equals x, okay? So what we've actually found is the distance from this point to this point along this line is 5, okay? Now, we didn't tell you whether it was meters or centimeters, so actually, you just write there for the distance, I'm just going to abbreviate it, is 5 units, okay? How easy is that? I'll give you one more example of each now. Okay, so the last example I'll do, find the length and midpoint of the line segment that joins 2, 5 and -1, -2. So notice here that you have 2 points. I don't actually even need to draw the line segment to find the length and the midpoint. I know, amazing, right? I can actually just use these 2 points exactly the same way I did before. So first off, I'll do the midpoint. So remember, to find the midpoint, all I do is I take the 2x coordinates, there's 1 in each point, I add them together and divide by 2. So you have to be a bit careful here because there are negative numbers, but you can use your calculator. So I go 2 plus -1 divided by 2, and that is my x coordinate, and my y coordinate similarly is just 5 plus -2 divided by 2. Okay? So 2 plus -1 is just 1, so the x coordinate is a half. Okay? 5 plus -2 is 3, and if you divide by 2, you can just leave it as 3 over 2, or 1.5. Okay? So the midpoint of the line segment during this point and this point is half 3 on 2. Okay? So I didn't even need to draw it. I'm done. So secondly, I'll find the length. Okay? Now, I'll actually give you a formula that might help you. You may have seen this formula before. It's just this formula here, it's just the distance between 2 points, okay? So to do that, you have to label your points as x1 and x2. It doesn't matter which is the first and which is the second point, okay? In exactly the same way, the distance from Canberra to Brisbane is the same as the distance from Brisbane to Canberra. So if I call this point here x1, then this one here has to be y1. So the ones go together, and then this will be x2 and y2, okay? And then I simply substitute them into the formula, okay? So x2 is -1 minus x1, and I square that, and then plus, so y2 is -2 minus y1, which is 5, and I also square that, okay? And you can just chuck that on your calculator. Now the answer that you get is the square root of 58, okay? Because all this stuff under the square root equals 58. Now if your question says give the exact answer, you have to write square root of 58. Otherwise, you can just write 7.62, which is what your calculator tells you it is. All right, fantastic. Hope you enjoyed the video. This has been the luckiest teacher in the world. Have a great day.